I was fixing the lock on the backyard gate when my phone vibrated against the toolbox. Unknown number. I wiped my hands on my jeans and answered, already expecting some cold call or scam. Mr. Cole. A woman's voice, old but steady. This is Agnes Monroe. I live across the street. I hope I'm not intruding, but I think you should hear this. I glanced toward her house. Curtains shifted slightly in an upstairs window. Go ahead, I said. There's been a man coming to your home while you're gone, she said, each word deliberate. Not once. Several times. Drives a black Dodge. Loud. Parks halfway up your driveway like he owns it. I listened. Nothing new stirred in my chest. No anger. No panic. Just the click of facts sliding into place. Today, she continued, he used a key. That got my attention. I didn't flinch or shift. I just asked, you're sure? I saw him unlock the door myself, Agnes said. Didn't even knock. Vanessa let him in, smiling like it was his house too. I could hear her breathing hard, the effort it took to cross this line. I knew your grandfather, she added. He built that house with his own 2 hands. It's wrong. What's happening there? If you want, I have it on video. Send it, I said. A few minutes later, my phone pinged. 2 videos. Grainy but clear enough. I watched them standing right there by the gate, the afternoon sun beating down. Black Dodge pulls up. Tall guy, dark hair, cocky swagger, swinging keys around his finger. Vanessa opens the door. Smiling. They don't speak. They don't have to. She steps aside, he steps in. Another clip. A different day. Same pattern. Same man. Different clothes. Comfortable, casual. Like this was a routine. I didn't move for a long moment. The neighborhood buzzed around me, sprinklers ticking, dogs barking down the block. Normal sounds. Familiar things. But none of it felt familiar anymore. Agnes texted again. If you need someone to keep watch, I can help. I don't mind. I stared at the message, then at the house that no longer looked like mine. Yes, I wrote back. Simple. Direct. No big speeches. No dramatics. That evening, I didn't confront Vanessa. I didn't tip my hand. She came home late from Pilates, tossed her gym bag by the door, and kissed me on the cheek like she was checking a box. I kissed her back, watched her disappear into the kitchen, watched her pour a glass of wine without a care in the world. I sat on the couch, pretending to scroll through news feeds, pretending to half listen to her chatter about a coworker's birthday brunch next weekend. My mind wasn't on the conversation. It was setting traps, calculating next moves. In chess, you don't yell when you see the checkmate coming. You move your piece and wait. I waited. At midnight, after she went to bed, I stayed downstairs. I pulled out the old blueprints of the house my grandfather left me. Marked places for cameras. Entry points. Blind spots. I ordered equipment. Discreet. High quality. Same-day shipping. It wasn't just anger fueling me. It was precision. Vanessa thought she was playing me for a fool. She forgot one thing. This house wasn't built for liars. It was built by men who finished what they started. I waited 2 days before the first package arrived. The box looked like something you'd get a Bluetooth speaker in. Inside, 5 micro cameras, motion sensors, heat-triggered recording, cloud backup. I tested them in the garage, checking resolution, angles, mic sensitivity. No margin for error. I started with the living room. Top left corner near the ceiling trim. Nobody ever looks there. Then the hallway near the front door. One in the kitchen, tucked into the fake plant by the window. Another just outside the bedroom, pointing down the hall. I saved the last one for the garage. She never used the garage. That space was mine. She parked in the driveway, always said she didn't want to deal with the clutter. That made it perfect. I hardwired them into the house's power system. No batteries, no flashing lights, nothing to give them away. The footage streamed straight to my encrypted drive, backed up twice, one local, one remote. I built the system like I'd built my last server room, reliable, invisible. Vanessa didn't notice a thing. She was too busy humming in the morning, texting before bed, working late twice in 4 days. On the 5th day, I got a text from Agnes. 2:17 p.m. He just pulled up. I didn't respond. Just opened the live feed. The black Dodge slid into view, parking at a familiar angle. Door opened. Same guy. Same easy confidence. White t-shirt, sunglasses, gym bag. He rang the bell. She opened it in under 3 seconds. They didn't talk. She stepped back. He stepped in. Her hand brushed his chest in passing. The door shut behind them. 30 seconds later, living room Kim caught them on the couch. Her head on his shoulder. his hand resting low on her waist. No shame. No hesitation. He looked around once, like he was checking if the coast was clear. It wasn't. Agnes texted again. He's been here 3 times this week. Yesterday, too. He stayed almost 2 hours. I asked her if she could keep logging the times. She agreed. I saved the clip, tagged it, moved on. I didn't confront Vanessa that night either. She came home glowing. Said she'd spent the day at the spa with Claire, long facial, mud wrap, full detox. She poured a smoothie into a wine glass, leaned against the counter like a woman completely at peace with herself. I asked if she felt better. She smiled. Clean, inside and out. I nodded. Good. The next morning, I added a new feature, external motion triggers linked to my phone. Anytime someone crossed the driveway while I was gone, ping. No need to wait for Agnes anymore. She still watched, though. Still took notes. Still called him the Prowler. I started cataloging footage by time, date, clothing, behavior. By the second week, I had 8 separate entries. 5 visits captured on camera. 2 more logged by Agnes while I was out of town. One where he parked around the corner and walked up the side path. Smart, but not smart enough. Patterns emerged. Vanessa always wore the same robe after he left, the white one with the blue trim she never touched when we were alone. She also burned the vanilla-scented candle in the living room, the same one she once claimed gave her headaches. Apparently, it didn't when he was around. I documented every detail. Still said nothing. Still smiled over dinner. Still kissed her cheek before bed. She never once asked why I wasn't sleeping. She didn't care. That made things easier. I started with the wedding footage. Not the ceremony, the raw, candid stuff. Us dancing in the backyard with muddy shoes. Her laughing as she shoved cake into my face. Me catching her heels when she slipped off them in the grass. I cut together a 45-second intro. Simple. Sentimental. Just enough to warm the crowd. Then I found the beach trip, San Diego, 3 years ago. She called it the happiest weekend of her life. I layered it with soft background piano. Subtitles. Love is built in the quiet moments. It looked like a celebration video. Something you'd show before a proposal. That was the point. The next section was trickier. I sifted through the camera archives, time-stamped, sorted, crystal clear. First clip, Vanessa in the living room, cuddled up with Derek, drinking from my favorite mug. Second, him shirtless in the hallway, scratching his stomach like he belonged there. Third, she walks him out, kisses him by the garage door, checks the street, waves him off. Same black Dodge every time. I didn't need to narrate. The images spoke for themselves. Cut. Fade. Next section. Agnes came by that afternoon with banana bread and a list of visit dates. He was there for over 3 hours last Friday, she said, wrapping the bread in foil. Left after dark. I watched him fix his hair in the rearview mirror. I nodded, thanked her, marked the date. That made 10 separate entries. Vanessa came home that night humming again. She didn't notice the extra monitor on my desk or the faint buzz of rendering software. She was too busy showing off her new dress. Claire found it for me, she said. Said it's dangerously elegant. What do you think? I looked her over like a man admiring furniture before a garage sale. Looks expensive. She laughed. Relax, I used my card. By the time she went upstairs, the next cut was ready. I included the morning where Derek left his protein shaker on our kitchen counter. Bright red. Neon logo. Still wet. She didn't even move it for an hour. I paused that frame, zoomed in on the shaker, then cut to the wedding toast. To loyalty. To building something no one can break. The contrast was sharp. Exactly what I needed. The final segment? That would come soon. I had already contacted the arena. It took 3 emails and a bribe to a middle manager, but they agreed. If I supplied the video file and paid the placement fee, they'd run it during halftime, listed as fan tribute, Nathan and Vanessa Cole. I booked VIP seats. Vanessa would think it was an anniversary gesture. She'd get her moment on the Jumbotron. But so would Derek. He just didn't know it yet. None of them did. And that was the beauty of it. The deeper she sank into comfort, the sharper my blade got. She was already planning a spring getaway. Said she needed solo clarity. I just nodded. Smiled. Let her plan. I had plans too. The final cut took 8 hours. I wanted every second timed perfectly, no gaps, no glitches, no way to miss the shift from sweet nostalgia to brutal clarity. The first 3 minutes would lull the audience into warmth. Love. Devotion. A couple that had everything. That made the betrayal hit harder. The last 90 seconds were composed like a bullet. Frame 1. Vanessa kissing Derek at our front door. Frame 2. Him shirtless in my garage. Frame 3. Her in the kitchen, texting, giggling. His name flashing on her phone. Derek S. Then a hard cut to her saying, I hate when he gets suspicious. It's like, just stop pretending. Agnes had caught that clip by accident. Her angle wasn't perfect, but the audio was clear. It happened during one of his early visits. Vanessa thought she was alone. She wasn't. I layered in the timecodes. Added fade to black transitions. Then, at the end, the last card. This is who she really is. Enjoy the game. No names. No commentary. Just facts, presented like evidence in court. The next step was logistics. I reached out to the stadium contact again. Rick, mid-40s, operations guy, didn't ask questions as long as the money cleared. I can slot it into the halftime media stream, he said. You'll show up as a fan tribute. We'll even roll out the kiss cam lead-in like we do for proposals. Perfect, I said. He paused. You sure you want this public? I looked at the monitor behind my desk, paused on the frame of Vanessa holding Derek's belt in the kitchen. Absolutely. I wired the payment that afternoon. It wasn't cheap, but revenge never is. 2 days later, the tickets arrived by courier. Courtside, VIP access, hospitality wristbands. Vanessa found the envelope on the kitchen counter. What's this? She asked, grinning. Next Friday. Heat versus Lakers. She stared at the tickets like they were diamonds. Are you serious? She said. This is crazy. These seats are impossible to get. I shrugged. Figured you'd enjoy it. Anniversary's coming up. She actually gasped. You're being romantic, she said, fake shocked. I smiled. Trying something new. That week, she was glowing. Better mood, more physical, suddenly full of compliments I hadn't heard in years. She cooked twice. Started wearing perfume again. Even asked if I wanted to take a weekend trip, just the two of us. I said we'd talk about it after the game. Let her dream a little longer. In the meantime, I double-checked everything. I had the original video on 2 flash drives, one for the stadium, one in my safe. I cleared my calendar. Set the house's cameras to archive mode. This chapter was nearly done. Agnes stopped by one last time. She brought coffee. I won't be watching the game, she said, sliding the mug across the porch table. But I'll be waiting for your signal. I nodded. You've done more than enough. She patted my hand. Your grandfather built this house with pride. You're doing right by him. I didn't reply. Just raised my cup. The night before the game, Vanessa came to bed in silk. First time in months. Tried to play sweet. I let her. She thought she'd won. That the storm had passed. That I had stopped looking. The truth was, I never blinked. The truth was, the fuse was already lit. We arrived at the arena an hour early. Vanessa was dressed like she was meeting a sponsor, tight black dress. Heels too high for stairs, perfume thick enough to stain the air. She smiled for every security guard, waved at the hostess who walked us to our seats. These are insane, she whispered, gripping my arm. You never do this kind of thing. I do now, I said. The court was alive with noise. Warm-up drills, camera flashes, music pounding from every corner. She took selfies. Posted stories. Tagged me with hearts. Everything looked perfect. She leaned over. I think this is the best surprise you've ever pulled off. I didn't answer. Just looked at the scoreboard. The first half passed in a blur. I didn't track the score. Didn't care who was winning. My hand rested on the folded slip in my jacket pocket. The flash drive had already been delivered to the control booth. They told me the tribute video was cued for the mid-game break, exactly 9:12 p.m. At 9:09, Vanessa went to the restroom. I stayed seated, eyes forward, silent. 3 minutes. She returned just as the first sponsor ad ended. Sat down beside me, still glowing. You nervous? She asked. No. The screen above the court flickered. The arena lights dimmed slightly, and a familiar voice came over the PA. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special fan tribute tonight, a love story built right here in our city. A soft piano track began. The first clip played, Vanessa and me on our wedding day, laughing, dancing. The audience let out a collective ah. Some people clapped. Then came a short montage of beach days, anniversaries, quiet Sunday mornings. Our faces glowing on the Jumbotron. Someone behind us said, "That's real love, man." Vanessa grinned and leaned her head on my shoulder. Then the screen cut to black. The music stopped. New footage began. Timestamp, August 3rd, 1:47 p.m. Vanessa. Front door. Opening it with a smile. Derek entered. kissed her neck. The crowd murmured. Whispers, gasps, confused laughs. Another clip. Vanessa in the kitchen, holding a wine glass. Derek behind her, arms around her waist. Then, he still thinks I'm just working late. Poor guy. Laughter turned to silence. Clip after clip. Clear, time-stamped, undeniable. Derek slipping out of the house. Vanessa fixing her hair. Vanessa texting. He's boring. You're the reason I feel alive. Then the final frame. A black screen with white text. This is who she really is. Enjoy the game. The stadium was dead silent. Then the first shout. Damn. Someone laughed, not kindly. A man 2 rows behind us whistled low. I stood up slowly. Vanessa hadn't moved. Her mouth was half open, eyes frozen on the screen. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the ring. Gold, clean, untouched since the day I bought it. She finally turned toward me. Nathan. I held up a hand. No. She blinked. I took her left hand, slid the ring off her finger, calm, controlled. Then I placed it in her lap. You can keep the dress, I said. The house isn't yours. It was never yours. It passed from my grandfather to me. And tomorrow, you'll pack your things. She stared at me, trying to speak. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. I stepped past her, didn't look back. Security moved toward our row. Not for me. For her. One of the cameras caught her face on the big screen, full stadium watching. Not a victim. Not a wife. Just a name, burned across her own lie. I didn't need applause. I didn't need sympathy. I needed the truth to have weight. And it did. All the way to the parking lot. No one stopped me. No one spoke. Just the sound of shoes on concrete, clean and final. By the time I pulled out of the parking lot, my phone was already buzzing. Vanessa. Call after call. Then texts. Then voicemails. I ignored all of them. At a red light, the screen lit up again. Please, Nathan. Talk to me. You don't understand. I understood perfectly. The drive home was short. Silent. Every street lamp washed the truck in pale gold, empty and clean. I parked in the driveway, turned off the engine, sat there a full 5 minutes. The porch light was still on. Inside, the house was dark. For the first time in months, it felt still. No hidden rot underneath. No casual lies clinging to the furniture. Just structure. Foundation. The way my grandfather had left it. At 2:03 a.m., another text. We can work through this. Please. I made mistakes, but you weren't there for me. Blame. Even now, she couldn't help herself. At 2:17 a.m. I love you. It was just a phase. It didn't mean anything. At 2:41 a.m. I'll leave if you want. Please don't make this worse than it has to be. She still thought she had options. She didn't. The next morning, I called my lawyer. Set an appointment for noon. I spent the morning cleaning. Not the house, the files. Cleared devices she had access to. Changed every password. Bank, utilities, insurance, title deeds. By 10 o'clock, I had full control of everything tied to my name. By 11, a moving company confirmed the pickup for the next afternoon. Paid in advance. One-way trip. At noon, I sat across from Daniel Ridge, family attorney for 3 generations of Coles. He looked at the file I handed him without a word. Vanessa's face on the flash drive. Derek's plate number on the attached sheet. Ridge exhaled slowly. She doesn't have a claim to the house, he said. Your sole heir? Premarital inheritance. Fully protected. And the vehicles? Both registered under your name. She can't touch them. He skimmed through the prepared eviction notice. If she's smart, she'll leave quietly. I signed the papers without hesitation. By sunset, a courier had delivered the documents to our doorstep. I was sitting on the back patio when she pulled up. Not in the black Dodge. In a rental. Silver. Plain. She must have known her old patterns wouldn't work now. She stood on the porch for a minute, holding the envelope. Then knocked once. I didn't get up. Eventually, she opened the door herself. Nathan. Her voice was small. Not broken. Calculated. I stayed where I was. She found me by following the porch light. I'm sorry, she said immediately. You caught me. I get it. I deserved some of it. But this. She waved the papers. This is cruel. I looked at her for the first time in 24 hours. Nothing there. Just a woman playing defense because she lost. You made your choices, I said. She stepped closer. We can fix this. Counseling. Time. Anything. Just don't throw it all away. I leaned back in the chair. You already did. Her eyes flickered. Rage underneath the fake regret. You're not perfect either, Nathan. You shut down. You stopped caring. You pushed me away. Standard script. Victimhood. I let her speak. Let her fill the silence with the sound of her own collapse. When she paused, waiting for a reaction, I stood up. You have until noon tomorrow to leave. And if I don't? Her voice tried for strength, but it cracked. Then the sheriff handles it, I said. Your call. Vanessa's hands shook slightly. Whether from rage or fear, I didn't care. She looked around like she expected the walls to help her. They didn't. This house wasn't hers. It never had been. Without another word, she turned and stormed back inside. Doors slammed. Drawers opened and shut. I went to the garage, pulled down the old camping chairs, set one by the driveway, opened a beer, watched the sun bleed out behind the trees. At 7:46 p.m., my phone buzzed again. Agnes Monroe. I answered on the second ring. Just checking in, she said. Saw her car earlier. Figured there might be fireworks. No fireworks, I said. Just cleanup. There was a pause. Then, soft. Your grandfather would be proud. I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. The night passed without another knock, without another plea, without another performance. In the morning, I'd watch her leave. And when the door shut behind her for the last time, I wouldn't say a word. Some goodbyes don't need to be spoken. They just need to be finished. By 9:30 the next morning, the movers arrived. Neutral men in navy polos and steel-toed boots, treating the situation like any other job. They didn't ask questions. They didn't care whose boxes were stacked on the driveway. Vanessa was already halfway packed. She didn't speak when I passed through the kitchen, grabbing a bottle of water. No pleading. No bargaining. Just the mechanical rhythm of loss. Every box was a reminder she didn't belong here anymore. I stood on the front porch, arms crossed, watching them load her things into a rented van. Furniture she had chosen, clothes she had bought, trinkets she once claimed made the house feel like home. All of it leaving in silence. At 11:43 a.m., she appeared in the doorway. No makeup, hair pulled back, eyes bloodshot but dry. She clutched a small duffel bag like it was a shield. For a moment, she hesitated. I didn't move. Finally, she stepped onto the porch, set the duffel down, straightened. I hope you're happy, she said, her voice flat, brittle. I looked at her like you look at a stranger holding a faded photograph of someone you used to know. I'm not anything, I said. I'm finished. Her mouth twisted. She wanted a different ending. Needed one. Some final crack in the armor she could squeeze through. I didn't give it to her. Goodbye, Vanessa, I said.